A week ago, we were introduced to the brand new MX-5 series and got to see the cream of the crop in the GT3s. Both put on some spectacular racing, but as always with motorsports, you can never rest on your laurels. We've shown up to two drastically different tracks as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GT Pro Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Starting off this evening once again with the nimble little Japanese sports cars, our drivers will go up against the tricky Laguna Seca. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Well, DJ, I'm glad that we get to see the MX-5s around here because I know I raced them plenty of times at this track on my way up into iRacing.
Indeed, Joe, and I've had the fortune to be able to actually see some of these MX-5s out on this track in person. And let me tell you, even though they may be a little under horsepower to compared to some of the open wheelers we're used to seeing, it is still a handful around here. Now, obviously, the main overtaking areas that we're going to be talking about here today, well, they're kind of 3. Number 1 is going down to the Andretti hairpin, that first real corner, the double apex left-hander coming off of the pit straight. The other is going to be the final corner with a run down from the corkscrew down to turn 11. We've seen some moves get done there. And then we're going to see who put on their Alex Zanardi shirt today and see if anybody's going to be able to make a move into the corkscrew. One of the most fearsome and famous corners in the entire world. It is absolutely breathtaking. But outside of that, these drivers are going to have to be very, very careful because it is a very slippery slope driving from turn 4 all the way up to turn 6. It's a lot of third gear corners through there and very easy to get a tire off into the dirt and go off into the barriers.
We'll see if anybody winds up discovering the dirt and dust here in California. But before we do, our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free today at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between the virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. As we take a glance at the championship standings here for the MX5 Cup Series, it is Bradley Holly who took the win, so he's a full 4 points ahead of Cervantes. Cowgill, Bergquist, and Boucher round out your top five, but interesting to see that the top three were all the oval drivers that have come in recent seasons here in some of the GT series. So we'll see if that continues. In the meantime, we also have a teams championship.
We do indeed, Joe. And there you can see in that one of my personal favorite team names of all time, Oh God, Right Turns, is leading off the championship by a big 21-point margin over Miata Mafia. Fossil Racing only about 9 points back from them, with the Jaeger Bombs 5 points back. So pretty good battle shaping up there for P2 in that championship, with RF Delta Sport about 23 points back. So they're going to have some work to do here as the season goes along.
If this is your first time tuning in, here is the race details. It's only a 35-minute race in this series, but you can still expect one pit stop for fuel throughout this. Now, you can see they have to watch out for the limits of the track, because at 13 incidents, they're going to get a drive-through. 17, they'll actually be disqualified. But the bonus points will certainly be one they're going to have to work hard for, especially with how tight it seems in qualifying. That one is what they're vying for right now. And we are waiting for the first of the drivers to set a lap. I think Patrick Cowgill will be the first one. Nope, he did not set a time. So he's just setting off on his first flyer as we ride on board down into the Andretti hairpin, just taking that wide entry and trying to square it off. This brings back a lot of memories of my first couple months on the sim, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly does. The MX5 at Laguna Seca is just about as synonymous with iRacing as apple pie is with ice cream. But there you can see it's a really good-looking car there for Cowgill in his traditional 31 livery. Now, this is the part of the track, Joe, that I talked about, that it is a lot trickier for these drivers. Like I said, it's still about third gear corners. That's turn 5 right there. You can see not a whole lot of runoff area coming up to the top of the hill. You've got to do it again. Be very, very careful, working your way through turn 6. And then here he comes into the you-know-what.
Up to the corkscrew. Let's see if he can nail it this time. Again, they only get 4 timed laps here in this 10-minute qualifying session. And he plunges downhill. That looked clean to me, although not everybody's been clean. As you can see, all the dirt that has been kicked up over the course of the practice and is still there here in the qualifying. And so far, Cowgill looks like this one should count. Haven't seen any major off tracks as he comes up to that last little hairpin, back on board as he tries to work his way past that pit entry. Can take a little bit of that runoff on the exit. That looks clean to me. The 31 gonna set a time, and what is it gonna be? It is a 40.405. Frank Mossman, though, beats him by 2.5 seconds.
That is a mega lap there from Mossman, as now we watch Boucher coming across the line, as we're going to see if he's got anything good in the tank. That's going to be a 39.5. That'll put him up into third. Peter Newhook able to be within 7/10 of a second of Mossman. Still nobody able to touch the 69.
Waiting for a number of quicker drivers to put a time down. Bradley Holly still hasn't got one. He messed up his first lap somewhere. It looks like he had an off track as we look at Boucher, who's got himself into third, but is a full 1.5 seconds off of Mossman coming down towards turn 5. Sometimes we might see sneak attacks into this corner, though it'll certainly take a brave one as DJ was talking about how swift it is and how much you need this speed uphill. These things do not have a lot of oomph.
No, they very much do not. A little bit underpowered, but the light, nimble frames of them do make them a little bit of a treat to drive, and you can see why iRacing does use these for the opening rounds of the Rookie Series. Watch here, Holly diving down through the corkscrew. I don't care what car it is. That corner is just magic.
I love that we got to see Romain Grosjean get to enjoy it. Not every F1 driver gets to come on over and try this track, and he was certainly praising it, singing his praises of it. Mossman goes quicker to a 37.4, another half second knocked off there. Johnny Luna goes up into third place in the meantime. And where did we get our last week's winner? Did he set a time? He did. It's a 37.9, and that will put him into the second row. Todd Lewis now on screen.
Lewis coming to the line a little bit painstaking there for him. Not sure if he was able to get an improvement on that time. Here comes Pete Thomas right now. Pete has yet to set a time for the Fossil Racing team. He's going to come across. It looks like he's tracking a little bit slow, and indeed with a 41.9, that's only going to net him 19th right now.
Decent-sized field out here, and looks like Keeley's going to put a 41.7. He gets bumped down to 19th immediately as St. Aubin sets his first time lap. Now we're on board with Malcolm Foster here in the 18th position. He's gotten one lap so far. This will be his second timed one. How much do we have left, actually? Are they even going to get all 4 laps in here?
It's going to be close. Malcolm Foster there improving a little bit in 16th. Everybody working their way around here. We've got a big gap waiting for new drivers to cross over the line.
Mossman's going to be next, still with 0.3 of a second over Newhook, which is a pretty decent gap, especially in these cars, as he brings that Delta Sport machine to the line. Can he improve on that 37.4? No, he had an off track somewhere.
Oh, so that's going to hurt him back a little bit, but he still is on top of the charts to the tune of about 0.3 of a second, so he's going to be happy about that. Watching some more drivers come to the line. Here comes the 358 machine, the independent driver working his way through. I see Galindo coming up, Bradley Holly bumping his way up into third, Cervantes up into sixth.
And then Cassell to the line. Todd Lewis also crossing ahead of him. 39.7 gets him into 12th. And we switch back to the 17th place driver, St. Aubin. And he's only also got one lap on the board, so definitely not going to be able to get all 4 of his down, I don't think. And let's see if he can make something of this second one. A 40.3, half-second improvements, but only gets him a couple spots.
Yeah, we're really seeing some tight margins here across the entire field. Also seeing Patrick Cowgill, Todd Lewis, Keeley, and Thomas parking themselves in the pits here. Oh, Jason Larson having a little bit of an off-track moment, but we're watching Daniel Williams. He's going to cross over with a 38.5, and that's going to be good enough for 8th place.
He really needed that. His first 2 laps got deleted, unfortunately. Mossman up next. Has been continually improving, although we don't know what that last one would have been. The 69 machine rounds that final corner. He will have enough time to complete this last lap of his qualifying. Is this going to put him even farther away? Yes, it will. Down into the 36s with a 36.7, and Hawley abandons his final lap, so he won't be able to challenge it.
Yeah, Newhook had an incident, so he was off into the wall. Adam Young there looking like that's not going to count for him. Boucher here coming to the line. Johnny Luna was able to move his way up into second, but here comes the number 5 machine. That's not going to be an improvement for him. Ticking down here into the last couple of minutes, these drivers have got to hustle to the line if they want to get a time in.
Again, they don't get to finish their hot laps around here, so if they're starting their final lap now, well, they're not going to have it count regardless. Back to St. Aubin, who sits in 17th. I see Luna and Michaud still out on track. Not sure if they're able to complete their laps in time. I'll have to check where they are. But Matthew puts down a 39.2. That'll get him into 11th.
be pretty happy with that. Pete Thomas not able to improve there for the Fossil Racing team. Here comes Daniel Williams out of that final corner. I think that may be a little bit slow. This is going to be the final car to set a time. Is he going to be able to improve? No, he is not. He's off by about 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, even if Johnny Luna managed to get to the line here, he had an off through turn 6, so his qualifying is complete. Let's go through our starting order. Frank Mossman looks like the man to beat today with nearly a second on his nearest rival, Johnny Luna. Then it's going to be Peter Newhook on the inside of that second row. Bradley Hawley starts it from 4th. Michael Michaud will be P5. Cervantes in 6th and Boucher in 7th. Daniel Williams starts P8 today. Cabana in 9th and Cowgill rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th is going to be Matthew St. Aubin, followed by Sean Vincent with Adam Young and Todd Lewis lining up behind them. Jason Larson will start off 15th with Danny Duchesne to his outside in 16th. Pete Bladden will be 17th, followed by Malcolm Foster with Robert Galinotto and Sean Keeley lining up 20th.
Pete Thomas starts 21st, and Mark Giselle is the last one to set a time. Bergquist, is he going to grid up? Yes, he is. So we'll get 23 cars starting here today as we'll get a rolling start here at Laguna Seca. Just about have everybody gridded up. And it's a little bit hot out there in California. It is only 1:30 p.m. virtual standard time, so it's about 96 Fahrenheit on the track surface.
Yeah, and so that means these tires are going to come up to temperature a little bit faster than we would be expecting. Keep an eye out, though, about 6 to 7 miles an hour gusting winds there. That's going to be a little bit tricky, especially as drivers crest over the hills of turn 5 and 6. They could get a little bit of a cross breeze and throw them off.
Now, last time, DJ, we were at Road America, and that is a very long and fast track for these cars. Not as many long straights here, so what are they doing in terms of passing?
Well, this is really going to be a force the issue kind of race, Joe. You're not going to have the big drafts, as you said, and you don't really have all that many heavy braking zones. We've seen this come out a lot of times in IndyCar races around here. So what you have to do is just try to trail behind the car in front of you, really push them, pop your nose this way and that, and try to force those drivers into an error, or maybe make a bonsai move here in one of these corners.
We'll see if it's bonsai down in the first corner as Mossman is off immediately. Green flag is out. He strings him out, and someone goes way wide on the exit of the final corner before they even get to the line. This, unfortunately, actually gives a slipstream to Johnny Luna. He's starting to catch up down the front stretch. He takes a little bit of a look down into Andretti. Nothing doing, though. Single file for most of the front 5. A little bit of a side-by-side battle between Williams and Boucher, but it looks like Jacques comes out in 7th between them. A very tidy start coming into Andretti because of how they were strung out.
Yeah, indeed, and that was really all because of the quick getaway from Mossman. But Johnny Luna now scored as in the lead, I believe, as he is ahead. There you can see Mossman trying to get by him in that 69. Whoa, a little bit of bumping and banging.
We had made the pass through Andretti as they continue to beat and bang, but Mossman back to the front. You said they're going to have to be aggressive here today, and Mossman took that literally.
Oh, so Mossman off. He's going to save it from the wall, but he is off through the kitty litter here. This is going to dump him back to at least 7th place, I believe. Tries to get back under speed.
Great save. I thought for sure his day was prematurely done, but he kept it out of the wall. He did fall back to 8th place. We'll take another look at this. Just one wheel into the dirt on the exit of 6th, and that's all it took.
Well, I said it earlier, Joe. You've got to be careful on the exit there. Yeah, just that right rear catching it and tries to go into a 4-wheel drift, but absolutely stellar job to catch it. Now, this is going to set up a great storyline for the race. We know Mossman's got speed. We know he's got aggression, and he's already punching his way through the field.
So this promotes Luna to the lead. Newhook into 2nd. Bradley Hawley finds his way onto the podium. He's been challenging Newhook a little bit, but is not able to make the pass thus far as we once again plunge into the Andretti hairpin, the double apexer here at the start of the lap. Someone going a little wide there in that number 25. That's Cervantes trying to hold back Mossman, which I'm not sure will be fruitful. Mossman makes a late dive into 3, doesn't get by, but you said he's already trying to make inroads, and you weren't kidding.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of aggression there, and we saw that he was willing to put his car on the line with Johnny Luna. That ahead of him, Danny Cervantes going a little bit wide on the exit of turn 4. I think Mossman's going to try to make a move here on the exit, going through turn 5, around the outside. That's going to be Cervantes trying to hang it out. Mossman getting a little bit loose, though.
Just didn't have the speed the long way around. He was briefly ahead of him. Oh, I was going to say, please don't try it too wide. It is 6, but he does elicit an error out of Danny, and that's going to put Frank into P5.
Yes, it is. So he's already up there. He's got about a second up the road. Oh, I thought Cervantes was thinking Alex Zanardi there, but backs off, fortunately.
And we got a battle for second. Holly with Peter Newhook as we take a little bit of a glance at Adam Young's onboard here through the corkscrew. Holly's going to get second place away from Peter. So he definitely sees the likes of Mossman coming, and he wants to try and get as much of a gap as he can. In fact, Mossman there at the left side of the screen absolutely chucked it into the final turn. That's going to get him 4th now.
Mossman on a mission here. That's the 497 of Michaud and Cervantes going side by side down the main straightaway as well. Following here, Bradley Holly as he tries to chase in Johnny Luna, but Luna setting fastest lap after fastest lap. Look at that braking from the number 69 of Frank Mossman.
Already up to the back of Peter Newhook. Now, the good news is that or at least for Johnny Luna, is that he's been able to stretch away from all of these guys quite well. So even once Frank gets past, he's going to have some work to do trying to reel him back in. We're back on board with the Delta Sport Driver. Takes a little bit of a look to the left-hand side for Peter Newhook. Newhook doesn't defend it. He's just going to let him through.
Yeah, I think Newhook knew that he just had a little bit too much speed there, not wanting to necessarily get in the middle of that battle. Mossman here carrying a lot of speed once again. Looked like a little bit of a wiggle up ahead from Bradley Holly.
You know, there's a lot going on out there, but if you want to check out on your favorite driver, see how they're doing, go and look at gsrc.tv, where we've got live timing and scoring of every car on the track down through the corkscrew. This time, no passes into there, but Mossman continuing to edge ever closer to the 184.
Eking his way forward. There's Adam Young back in 15th place. You see the amount of concentration that is needed to get through that corkscrew.
Yeah, that was him under the attack, I believe, of Malcolm Foster there, trying to see if he could snag a spot, but wasn't successful into the corkscrew that time. Back up to P2, Bradley Holly and Frank Mossman are going to try and duel once again. Frank with a great run, and Bradley doesn't really cover him off. Lets him go through the inside. Doesn't have the over-under, so that's an easy pass for the 69.
Yep, able to get on, and now he has got 2.6 seconds, excuse me, about 3 seconds up the road to re-catch Johnny Luna. And I'm very excited to see what that battle is going to look like.
It'll be very telling now that he's in clear air to see what he can do, what kind of lap times he can put down. And we finally have things settling in here. So we've already ticked away about 6 minutes into this race. Oh, I see Adam Young off track. Unfortunately, in turn 3, he gets it back onto the circuit. I'm not sure if he had help or if this was all on his own.
Well, I'm not sure either, Joe, but we're going to jump back here to check out a GSRC replay and see exactly what it did.
So the 21 was coming into turn 3. This is into the hairpin that we're watching. So far, he's all on his own. That looked nice and tidy. This is a tricky braking into this corner. Did he touch the outside? No. Clean on there. Oh, he just overcooked it.
Yeah, just came in a little bit too hot there. And definitely kept his foot down there through the dirt. So kudos to him on that.
So now we hop on board with Todd Lewis. This is heading into the final hairpin as he chases Cabana and Cowgill for 9th and 10th spot. A little surprised that after taking a podium last round that Patrick is as far down as he is.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised as well, but you know, Laguna Seca is one of those tracks that you really either love it or you hate it. It just doesn't favor some drivers, and that may be what we were seeing here out of him.
Potentially, it does seem somewhat divisive amongst drivers. And, sizing up this top 10, well, we'll see if Lewis can do something here to net himself at least that stat next to his name. He's falling a little bit off of Cabana for the time being, so we'll have to re-rack and try again. Looks like our closest battle we've got right now is right here between the 67 and the 64. And an easy pass for Bergquist as he really sends it into turn 5.
Yeah, Bergquist, I didn't think he was going to be able to get it, but here comes Keeley maybe trying to get a little bit of a look. That's Malcolm Foster right ahead of him. But as they go up the hill, those opportunities start to wane away a little bit. As we said, coming now into the corkscrew, let's stay on board here with the 22. You can really get a sense of that elevation change. He's a little bit sideways going into it. Wow!
Holds it together, but he loses quite a bit of time as you see that car in front just get smaller and smaller in the windscreen. It seems like that's going to be a big talking point today. Mistakes, mistake mitigation. Who can run as perfect of a race as possible around this tricky circuit. Back up to Cervantes, who is trying to see if he can get by Peter Newhook. After Peter started in 30s, down one position, he might lose one more here. He was briefly up into second place, so it just doesn't look like the pace is with that 87 car.
No, it really doesn't, as it continues to fall off here down the line. As you said, Cervantes now taking a little bit of a look this way and that, trying to see if he can force a mistake out of Newhook.
Into turn 5, if he can maybe get himself a good exit, it looks decent, but not really enough to try and be the aggressor here. We hop on board, looking from the top of the windscreen. Both of them nice through turn 6 and heading into the corkscrew once again. Newhook probably not under threat unless we see an almighty dive bomb out of Cervantes. He closes a lot. In fact, almost looked like it shook him off the racing line somewhat. But look at the corner exit. He is nearly pushing him down the hill.
Yeah, indeed he is. Newhook really doing well there. Bradley Holly looked like he got a little bit squirrely on the bottom. Ooh, thinking about it going down into turn 10, but Danny Cervantes then is going to back off a little bit, not go all the way on it on Peter Newhook. Thinking this way and that, this little mini hairpin, a potential opportunity, but not going to do it. But I will say what all this squabbling has done is it's allowed for Michael Mush to catch up a little bit more.
Indeed, as we hop back to Adam Young, who's going to have to make a little bit of a recovery after his off track. By the way, we don't need to go there, but I can tell you that Mossman is definitely eating up that lead from Johnny Luna. It's down to 0.5 of a second. Whoa, and Young was running these two down, and then he went way wide there through the final hairpin.
Yeah, you can see Adam making some adjustments off to the side of his screen. I wonder if he's maybe messing with the brake bias a little bit in these cars. Just getting a little bit too rear focused right now would be my guess with the way that rear end is slipping and sliding.
Down into the hairpin once again. You can see a battle start to form in front of him, but can't do anything with it. He's got to be closer if he really wants to capitalize on those two starting to mess about.
Yeah, he sure does, and it looks like those brake balance issues are starting to resolve itself. We're also hearing he's having some trouble grabbing gears, so he may be manually shifting. That's what we're seeing, and just something's not going right there for Adam Young.
Which is interesting because I thought they had changed the gearbox here as the lead nearly changes hands. Mossman tries to get by, but the corkscrew doesn't produce results. Defensive move down into the penultimate turn, parks it on the apex, and Frank can't do anything with his momentum. Once again, going to cover the inside. If Johnny Luna is going to try and do this the whole race long, this will be a miraculous effort. So far, so good, but my goodness, Mossman is nearly touching his bumper.
He is indeed. He's almost giving him a bump draft down the straightaway there. Here comes Mossman. Luna doing a good job to defend the inside. Mossman going to try to take a look around the outside. I think he's going to back off a little bit, thinking maybe crossover here. Gets onto the dirt, almost into the left side of Johnny Luna.
Whoa, that was a little brave. I think he thought he had the space and then got chopped down upon. Johnny Luna said, no, you don't. So Mossman got out of it. Thankfully, that didn't turn either of the cars. Now, they are racing incredibly hard. Kind of makes me wonder if Bradley Holly could maybe catch them the way that they're doing this.
Very well might if they keep this up. It's a second and a half back. Whoa, there comes a little bit of a crossover move from Mossman. Mossman not able to get it going, though. Luna still defending well.
That was a little bit naughty from Johnny. He came across, and there was a nose end for Frank, and he kind of got into him. So he's making him work very hard indeed. Round the outside, coming up into the corkscrew. Not deep enough on the brakes. Maybe setting up the exit here. No, Frankie's got to try again later.
And not going to be able to do it there. Looking like this may settle down, and it may not, though, with just how good on the brakes that Mossman is. But we're going to jump back to Adam Young. He's got himself into a little bit of a battle here finally.
We got to go back to the lead. Through the inside, out of the final corner, Frank finally gets past, but Johnny Luna has a better exit. I have a feeling he's not going to take this sitting down. He's going to have to go the long way around, though. How good is he on the brakes compared to that 69 Delta Sport car, even as they hit the brake markers? But it looks like Frank is much better on the binders, and now he has officially got the lead.
He has indeed. We're going to bring up the replay to show you this here, Joe. Absolutely just incredible tenacity from Frank Mossman.
I think Frank knew exactly what he needed to do here. He had to surprise him, and he caught him out, just kept him napping at the wrong time. Yeah, look, he moved over, and as soon as he did, there goes Frank down to the inside, went as deep as he possibly dared, and then back on the throttle. That gave him first.
Yeah, it's a good move there. We look out the back. That is Johnny Luna trying to hold on, but Frank Mossman already able to grow that gap to about 0.5 of a second.
That might be day done for that battle unless we see another mistake out of the 69 as we get Adam Young into pit lane. So he's going to take an early strategy on the stop. And he's already back out and rolling. This will move him down to the last car on the lead lap. We are missing Pete Thomas and Matthew St. Aubin, who have both had some sort of incident earlier on. They are now 3 and 5 laps down.
Yeah, and then now we are following Peter Newhook for the Miata Mafia team. He is currently in 5th. That's Danny Cervantes right ahead of him. Remember, we were watching a little bit of this battle earlier as they make their way out of the final corner. Good run there from Newhook. He was able to gain about a 10th back, but it looks like Cervantes able to get a better run off the line.
Just doesn't seem like he's got enough for him. So, yeah, Cervantes is going to pull away slightly behind them. Have another pair starting to hook up. Michaud and Boucher might have something for the end of this race. So watching all 4 of them carefully, because one little mistake is definitely going to open the door just like that as Cervantes goes way off. He catches the car as he swings back onto the track. I don't think he lifted at any point in that situation.
I don't think he did either, Joe, but we're going to go back and check out an on-board replay with Cervantes. Let's keep an eye on that rev counter, see if he did lift at all. Coming out of that corner, there he goes. And then this is where that bobble's going to happen. Runs it over, comes down, gets that big curb all the way through. Yeah, he kept his foot down.
I love it. I love it. So back into it with the Jägermeister car. Cervantes keeps 4th with a little bit of a lead foot as the 87 of Newhook continues to chase him.
Yeah, that battle wow, that was almost a little bit of a look there going down through turn 9. Didn't exactly expect that to be an overtaking opportunity, but Peter Newhook certainly thinking about it a little bit.
Another little off there. Danny's starting to push the limits. Oh no, back onto the racing line, and it didn't seem that Newhook expected that. Gives him a little bit of a punch to the back. I think no harm, no foul.
Yeah, it looks like they were able to get through there, and these Miatas are pretty sturdy. They can take a bit of a lick and not have any major damage. Looking at the rear of Danny Cervantes, though, I don't think Newhook's going to be close enough to be able to close going down into the Andretti hairpin. He's going to think about it a little bit, poking his nose this way and that, but not close enough to make the move.
These four still glued together, as I think Todd Lewis is going to be the next one down on the lane. Only Adam Young has made a scheduled stop by this point, and this is pretty much exactly halfway for that 919. Here's we hop on board with Adam Young. Last lap, we don't have a flying lap from him quite yet, I don't think, because I see a 49 as his one. Let's see how he takes the corkscrew. Look at how much steering input is required heading down through there.
Yeah, just so much sawing on that wheel. And even though you are not experiencing the G-forces of that massive fall off the cliff, you can recognize that the car is just scrambling for grip as the weight transfers from the rear to the front.
Back to that battle for fourth once again, being led by Danny Cervantes, unwilling to give it up in spite of mistakes here and there. He continues to lead ahead of Newhook along with Michaud and Boucher, but now Peter's getting ever closer. He's going to take a little bit of a look, but he breaks early behind them. That is a pit for Michaud. He's going to send that one in and avoid all the chaos happening around him.
I think that may be a pretty good idea there for Michaud, just trying to come in and get a little bit of an undercut. That is Newhook weaving this way and that, trying to maybe just scare Danny Cervantes a little bit. Whoa!
Jason Larson also coming into pit lane, so he's going to give up those positions. Looks like similar situation for Duchesne, who also pits, but a mistake out of the final corner. Bladon, there you see in that bright green car, is going to be overtaken by Bergquist, and he moves up into 10th. The only driver, that did not set a time, and he has been climbing his way through the fields as he's going to look around the inside there, does Pete, but nothing doing for that one. Highest driver to have pitted currently is Michaud, who comes out in 13th.
Yes, we'll have to see what that does. None of these drivers here really taking tires, as that's going to be too long of a stop for them. There is that highest ranked driver to have pitted thus far, Michael Michaud, as he works his way around here. Just up ahead of him is Malcolm Foster. Foster has not pitted. Ooh, a little bit of an off there for some cars in the back.
We're talking about Bergquist and his charge through the field. He is the biggest mover. He's gotten some of them from the pit stops, mind you, but I've been watching him slowly but surely picking them up and putting them down. His fastest lap is a 38.6, which just about has him where I think he will wind up, if that's any indication of his regular pace.
I think you may be just about right on that, Joe. As we jump over here to P12, this is that battle we were alluding to earlier. This is Michaud and Malcolm Foster.
Oh, sorry, we had a problem with P2. Johnny Luna's off track. And so is St. Aubin. Not sure what's going on with St. Aubin. I think he had a separate incident, but Johnny Luna, oh no, St. Aubin made an incorrect pit exit, I think.
Oh no. All right, well, let's watch this. That is Johnny Luna there in the center of your screen. No,
that's
it's not.
Matthew.
Yeah. He's had some damage to that car previously. I don't know if he was coming out of the pits or not, Joe, but just misjudged the braking and plowed on into Johnny Luna.
Yeah, excuse me, I was wrong. I went and checked. He was coming out from very low on the racing line and then went back to the racing line when it wasn't clear. As we look at fourth place, oh, and I think Johnny Luna just took a tow, maybe? No, he did not. Excuse me. That was a connection issue. This battle has been narrowed down to 3 because of Michaud pitting. So Cervantes ahead of Newhook and Boucher instead. They are approaching the lapped car of St. Aubin, who's now 6 laps down. Wonder if he'll act as a pick, or will these 3 decide to pit now?
Well, we'll have to see. My gut instinct would be try to dive into the pits if possible, but none of them are going to heed my advice. Guess that's why I'm in the booth and they're out there driving. We did see a driver in the back, though, decide to dive down pit lane. Oh, this could be the move here for Newhook. He's certainly thinking about it. And there you see Cervantes trying to use St. Aubin as a pick. They're going to crest over the hill. Newhook closer than I've seen him in a while.
Danny went way too hard into that final turn, and he's paying the price here. Unless he can chop down. No, he's going to give a little space to New Hook. New Hook gets his nose in, but can't accelerate off the hairpin quick enough. Boucher isn't able to take advantage either. They're going to stay in position.
They are indeed, and that driver that I said I saw pop down pit lane, that was Daniel Williams. We also have Pete Gladden in the pits as well.
So a quick update. Mossman continues to lead, but Holly's now in second place. Luna fell back to third because of his woes. We ride on board with Boucher, who is behind the battle for fourth. Pete Newhook just in front of him in that 87. Oh, Newhook way off the apex. Is he going to be slow?
He might be. This is going to have to be an aggressive move here from Boucher going down into the corkscrew. Looks like he's lifting a little bit. Doesn't want to try to send that full out maneuver going down into there. Oh, you can see, I love that angle from Dougie Beard. You can see the cars just getting light as they crest over and try to regain grip coming back over through that amazing sequence.
Holly comes in. Luna pits now. Will we see Cervantes follow? Yes, he's pitting. So is Newhook and Boucher. So really our leader's the only one, I think, of the top drivers who is not coming in. Frank Mossman continues for an extra lap. Not only is he quick, but it looks like he's light with the right foot.
Yeah, which can be a big time advantage for him if he's able to keep going around there. But we ride on board right now with the 13 of Jason Larson as he tries to chase down Ian Cabana right ahead of him.
Up through turn 6. This is for the 12th position. He's got a very good exit here. I think Cabana is going to defend the inside. He's very shallow into the corner, but manages to make it. Larson can't do anything with it. Behind them, that's also fourth position. Todd Lewis just sizing him up.
Lewis just waiting to see.
Sorry, Luna jumped Holly in the pits. 5 seconds faster in pit lane. Holy cow.
And looking at the times there, Joe, I think that's more of a mistake from Bradley Holly than it is from a quick stop from Johnny Luna. Yeah, it's a 21-second pit stop from Bradley Holly. Luna more about the average that we're seeing between 15 and 17 seconds.
Critically, Michaud got out ahead of Newhook as well. That was incredibly tight between that pair. So the 497 returns in fourth. Newhook falls to P5 because of that. We're on board with Bradley Holly. And he's just starting to come upon lap traffic as well.
Yeah, he is. That can throw a little bit of a wrench. Woo, a little bit of wiggle there. Getting out of the way. That was Marc Cassell. As that definitely, I think, did slow down Bradley ever so slightly. Now up the road, they're going to have Sean Vincent, who's only about a second and a half up ahead of Johnny Luna. So depending on where Luna catches him, that may be a boon to Bradley Holly.
Frankie has pitted, is just about done with his service. And what is his going to look like? 17.7 for the 69. He's rolling. It's a little bit slower than Luna, but Luna wasn't really close enough to be able to jump him with just a second difference.
No, I think Frank will be able to maintain that lead pretty handily. Luna crossing the line right now, and Frank already out at the end of pit exit and back onto the track. So that number 69 clearly staying ahead.
All right. Well, Luna's been having a few connection issues along the way, too, so hopefully that clears up. As once again, we go to Danny Duchesne. This is the battle for 11th place. Cabana at the front of it. They're a little bit behind Bergquist, who is done with his pit stop, I'm seeing. So Bergquist legitimately up to 10th place. I think he will be our hard charger, and it doesn't look like he's being gunned down by this group.
No, Burke was certainly looking like he's got some good speed to be able to make his way up there, although it should be said with Burke was not setting a time. I'm not sure that our colleague Soup would be able to officially call him the hard charger of the race.
Yep. As we go once again to that fourth place fight, this time looks a little bit different as it's Michaud and Newhook and Boucher, but no Cervantes. He lost out big time in the pit stops.
Yeah, he did. And looking at those times, it was a very similar stop to Bradley Holly, actually, about a 21-second stop for Cervantes. So that definitely put him back down in the order. But the rest of these three drivers, they are still scrapping tooth and nail like we have seen them do many a time.
Coming through the final corner now. Everybody using as much of the exit as possible. That's Sean Vincent, who's just going to pull to the inside and let them through. Doesn't want to get involved in this. He goes a lap down and into the hairpin. I think Michaud is clear. Newhook doesn't look quite close enough to try anything desperate. And he's got a few laps left, so he could try and use these laps to chip away at that lead so he can get in position to do something. But before he does that, he's got to watch his mirrors. Boucher's got it down about 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, Boucher charging very, very hard here, trying to get up behind as the best that he can. Good run there coming through turn 4. It's going to have to be aggressive. You can see a little bit of a defensive line there out of Newhook. Ooh, Boucher's going to try around the outside there. Not going to really go for it, but just tries to carry momentum with a little bit of a later apex starting to climb the hill.
Thought for sure he's going to be able to get the over-under on that one, but nothing doing for the number 5. Ooh, off the apex for Newhook. Keeps it steady. Jacques also trying to carry as much speed as he can up the Rahal straight and braking hard into the corkscrew once again. Doesn't see the opening yet.
Yeah, it's just not presenting itself the way he'd like to, and sort of falling into one of the pitfalls that we've talked about here at Laguna Seca. It is a notoriously tricky track to pass on, as you really don't have a lot of good long straightaways before heavy braking zones.
You know, the other thing that impresses me here is I just looked down. We haven't lost a single car today. All 23 drivers are still running, which this place tends to eat up a few along the way. So credit to all the drivers in this series.
Yeah, massively credit that is owed, as we are used to seeing just some absolutely not only driving, but level of sportsmanship out of all drivers in the Precision Racing League. Class of the field today here, Frankie Mossman just absolutely delivering a knockout blow. He is 0.7 of a second faster on his fastest lap than any other driver in this field.
Indeed, and Frank, unfortunately, I believe, copped a little bit of a points penalty after last round, if I'm looking at things correctly. So he's got even more to try and make up for here in this round, as second place has suddenly come back together. Bradley Holly has got this down to 0.4 of a second. I think he was about 1.5 seconds when they exited pit lane.
Yeah, Bradley's just been driving very, very smooth here. I've been keeping an eye on him. He's not really too aggressive. You see how precise he is going down through the corkscrew. Really, really good line there from him. The rear end of the car not stepping out a whole lot. Oh, and in contrast, Johnny Luna taking a big chunk of that inside curve.
184 as well is certainly not afraid to really duck it down as far to the inside as he can go. Pete Thomas onto pit lane for some reason. Not sure what has caused that. He's already in 22nd out of 23 and multiple laps down. So perhaps he's calling it a day to stay out of everybody's way from here, as Johnny Luna could be under threat. How brave is Bradley Holly? He's good on the brakes. He's going to gain a lot of time, but he doesn't try and attempt to pass.
No, doesn't go for the pass right there, but there you can see him poking out to the outside as they work their way into turn 3. That's a little bit of that head game that we talked about, as Luna again running wide.
That might be the opening. No, into turn 4. It's a fast right-hander, so Holly can't get it that time. Big blink. Holy cow, I thought we had lost Johnny Luna for a second. Now he's finally back, still covering the inside, down into turn 5. We know he knows how to put out a stout defense, and it looks like he's bringing that tool set out again, but this time with Holly.
Is indeed. Holly a little bit more cautious on the brakes there going into turn 6. That gives a little bit of an advantage to Johnny Luna. But let's see again going through the corkscrew. This was a great part of the track for Bradley Holly last time. Good overhead angle, gets that first part of the curve, and the second part, that is a perfect kiss of the apex for Bradley Holly. A little bit of a wider line there coming down through the sweeping turn 9, but that allowed him to carry some more momentum.
And I believe Frank is going to have 2 laps to go at the line here. Actually, might be 3. It's going to be pretty close. We're on board with Adam Young now, who's managed to get back to 16th. He started 13th, though, so not sure this is going to be a day he's totally proud of. At least he'll be able to see the checkered flag if he just keeps it running forward for the remainder of these laps. This really is our closest battle, I think, that battle for P2. I'm looking to see if there's any other closer one. Bradley Holly, though, has been in the wars. I don't think he needs that mirror so much since he's attacking forward, but he'll have to chuck out about, $40, $50 to replace that, I'm sure.
I'm sure he will. So we see him trying to close in here. Joe, I'm wondering if Holly's just thinking about trying to cool down his brakes and tires ever so slightly and make an absolute run here on the last lap, or if Johnny Luna's just got the measure of him. On the last lap out, there was only about a 97 thousandths of a gap in between their times. So Holly's got the time. He's just got to find it.
Another question is potentially, did Luna cut it a little bit close on fuel? Did he have to do a couple laps of lift and coast into the corners? So regardless, keeping an eye on these two as well as Frank to see what the time is left. It's going to be quite tight, but I think we are getting the white flag this time by.
Right on board with him here. Yep, Barney waving the white flag. So Frankie Mossman taking it with a 1 lap to go symbol here at Laguna Seca.
Frank Mossman with a gap of about 10 seconds to the nearest car. Johnny Luna, who I think is going to have some problems because Bradley Holly has closed the gap once again. Tries to square off the Andretti hairpin. Doesn't give him enough this time. Not many places to pass. That was the first one right there. Corkscrew about the other decent place to try and overtake unless he gets a big error out of that 14.
Well, he's going to have to try to do it. We've seen Luna be a little bit mistake prone. We've seen him run wide onto the dirt. I think he kicked up a little bit of it right there, as a matter of fact. And it certainly does look like Holly's closing in a little bit as they go down into turn 5. Holly keeping things nice and easy together. Neither driver running too wide here.
Wow, look at how similar the lap times were between them. 100th of a second, 2,000ths of a second on that last lap. He is very close. How daring does he want to be? As Bradley Holly has multiple championships in other series, now a win in this series. Oh no! And he's gonna accidentally punt Johnny Luna. He's going to try and slow down and let him by, but I think they're both going to lose positions because of it. In the meantime, back to Frank Mossman. The 69 car lost the lead on the first lap, but he recovered from it, and he made this a dominating race regardless, winning by a bigger margin than I think even he expected in round 2 for the MX5 Cup Series. Boucher is going to be the one coming home in second place. He managed to get by Peter Newhook and pass both of the slow Bradley Holly and Johnny Luna. A surprise podium for Jacques and Peter. We've got the replay of the incident. This is interesting. Was he not anticipating it, or what exactly happened here?
I'm not sure. We'll check out of the roll hoop here. I want to check on Luna's brake lights there. Braking right about there. It's a little bit of an early break from Luna, but I've got to say a little bit more impetus on Bradley Holly there. Luna just running a good defensive line and planting that car in the middle of the track. Traditionally, if you are running a fast lap time, you're going to want to go farther off to the right. So you see it here, Luna just in the middle of the track as he starts to slow down, and I don't think Holly anticipated him being that far over.
Holly did get on the radio and apologize for what it's worth. As we take a look at our results, and it is Frank Mossman who took the win as Boucher gets another great finish, this time in second, and on the podium, Newhook into third. Michael Michaud finished in fourth place, with Johnny Luna recovering to a top 5 at the least. Holly did finish behind him in sixth place. Danny Cervantes was seventh, as Daniel Williams was P8, and it was Bergquist in the ninth position, up from 23rd. Patrick Cowgill went from 10th to 10th, so not as good of a showing as we saw back in Road America.
Ian Cabana was able to come home in 11th, followed by Danny Duchesne and Jason Larson. Todd Lewis was 14th, followed by Pete Bladden and Adam Young, staying on the lead lap there to come home in 16th, followed by Malcolm Foster in 17th, the last driver on the lead lap. Robert Gallinado, I'll get that name right one of these days, came home in 18th, followed by Sean Vincent and Mark Gassell.
And after that, you had Sean Kiley, Pete Thomas, and Matthew St. Aubin all winding up multiple laps down, unfortunately. But now we head to our interviews, as we've got our winner already ready to talk to us. And I'm sure the one thing everybody wants to know is what happened on the first lap. Frankie, congratulations, but you almost threw it away at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, it was especially with Laguna Seca, it's just really difficult. Cold tires on the MX-5, not really putting a lot of effort into being conservative on the start and being a little cocky. That kind of hurt me, but I mean, we came back, got the win.
Talk about that battle with Johnny Luna. That was some incredible defense he was putting up out there, but you eventually found your way past. Did you two have fun out there?
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was getting a little annoyed with the blocking because, you know, obviously trying to get by, and it just gets a little sketchy out there. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. One of my better races competitively, and glad that we didn't get into a wreck and both of ours. But I mean, he's a good driver, or I don't know if it's a he. I'm sorry, but really good, really competitive. Same with Bradley. He's really good as well. And it was just good racing overall.
It looked like good racing. You've bounced back tremendously after that 10-point penalty from Road America. Does this feel like it set things straight for you?
Yeah, especially after what happened in Road America. It was a big bummer for us, especially with the pace we had and being taken out while in the lead. Just, again, sketchy racing with the competitiveness. Being a huge aspect with it, but so we can't really blame anybody. But this is really good for the championship, and we'll just keep moving forward for the next rounds.
Great stuff. Anybody you want to give a shout out to that helped make this win happen?
Delta Sport, Move Up Lynchburg, Race Factory, Freedom USA, United for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme Sim Racing.
That was our winner, Frank Mossman, with his Delta Sport Miata taking the victory, as we've got one more. The third place finisher, DJ, is caught up with Peter Newhook.
I have indeed, Peter. A little bit of a surprising podium there, obviously, with the incident at the Corkscrew, but it looked like you had your hands full that entire race.
Yeah, that was an unbelievably close battle. I had a great drive with Cervantes for most of it. I gave him a little love tap at some point, and I was disappointed because I thought I was going to run him off the road, and we were having a lot of fun. But everyone kept it on track, and I seemed to get the jump on him in the pits. I'll have to go back and figure out what happened there. But then, yeah, had a nice little battle with my teammate in the matching livery, and yeah, then got a nice surprise at the end. I honestly thought it was back markers that had gone off.
No, it was indeed. So obviously it was those two guys ahead of you. Now, as you start to go in on a battle like that, as you were saying, with your teammate, does that change your mentality at all when you're having that fight? Are you a little bit more careful, or are you still doing the same things you'd normally do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more careful. I hope Mikael and Johnny feel the same way, but yeah, in these cars, the draft is just so strong that it's not really worth trying to jump in front of someone if you're about the same speed. So yeah, just happy to sort of stay there and protect from behind if there's anybody coming up. I think there was one point we had somebody coming up behind us, and I was happy to take a sort of a compromised line, but yeah, it ended up working out well.
Say it worked out well indeed, and now we're only 2 rounds into this, but I have to ask you, obviously Delta Sport having a very, very prestigious name across the whole Precision Racing League, are you guys looking a little bit more at the team's championship this time out, or are you maybe going for a little bit more personal glory?
Yeah, I mean, dangle a podium in front of me personally, I'm definitely going to go for it. But I think the team's championship is a good reminder that it's a long season and you don't get points for wrecking.
It's a good mentality to have there. Well, anybody you'd like to thank for this 3rd place here tonight?
Yeah, I think my mom and dad were watching the live stream, so I just wanted to give a shout out to you and thank my girlfriend Molly for looking after the cats while I sim race.
That is a good girlfriend to look after the cats. That was your 3rd place finisher there, Peter Newhook.
I love it. Well, it's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back because there's more racing to come. Stick around for the GT3 Pro Series here in the Precision Racing League at Motegi.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois. Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back. We have now arrived at Twin Ring Motegi here for round 2 of the GT3 Pro Series. This is a track that doesn't get as often used here in iRacing, so for those unfamiliar, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Twin Ring Motegi. This well-known Japanese racing facility located roughly 2 hours north of Tokyo gets its name from the fact that it has both an oval and a road course that can be run. But a unique feature of this track is that instead of having a roval layout, the road course is entirely separate from the oval circuit. On top of that, drivers have 3 different road courses to choose from in the form of the Grand Prix, East, and West circuits. While not totally devoid of elevation change, the track is relatively flat. What distinguishes the place the most is the combination of plenty of long straights heading into heavy braking zones. This means that passing opportunities abound. With it being built in 1996, it has most of the qualities you'd expect from a modern road course, including flat curbs, a fair amount of runoff, and multiple pit complexes. Oddly, because of the oval, the track includes night lighting for a portion of the road circuit. Though there isn't much notable about most of the turns, one of the more distinctive corners is the final chicane on the Grand Prix course. Leading out of a tunnel that returns you to the oval infield, it's kinked on entry and it tightens greatly at the second apex. This makes pushing the limits of this corner extremely tough, and it often catches drivers out. Though international series such as IndyCar and MotoGP have held rounds at the track, today it is mainly used for local open wheel and GT series. Still, the one-of-a-kind experience offered to drivers and fans at this circuit is sure to keep people coming back for years to come. Well, DJ, this place probably most well known for its IndyCar visits in more recent times, but we've got GT cars here.
We do indeed. And unfortunately, though, I think the GT cars, as we've seen them out here a couple of times, are going to run into the same sort of pitfalls that we've seen fall a lot of drivers here at the Twin Ring Motegi. And that is that there's not a whole lot of great areas to overtake on. It looks like there should be when you're staring down at the track map, but there really just aren't. The only 2 fantastic areas that I would say would be going down into turn 11, the right-hander off of that long back straightaway, and then you maybe can see one going down into turn 1. Now, if there is a fight into turn 1, rest assured, it's going to continue on all the way through that back and forth that we see coming through turns 3, 4, and 5. But a lot of this track, Joe, is very technical. There's that S's section that's turns 7, 8, and 9. Drivers may have a little bit of aero wash that they're going to have to fight through. And then it is always the trickiest thing in the world to get through is that final chicane, that 12 and 13 complex. We've seen it catch a lot of people out, and here's to hoping that we don't see it catch too many out here today.
Indeed, and the drivers, of course, have a championship that is continuing to unfold, and Karl Modov back to his winning ways up at the front. Karen Kostovich, DeTulio, and Levesque rounding out your top 5 after that first round, but it is going to be tough to come by those wins in this series. We saw an incredible strength of field last time, and it's just about as high tonight as well. What about the team standings? I got to think that's going to be another tough one to crack.
Yeah, it always is in any PRL league, Joe. Delta Sport right now on top only by 5 points ahead of ASRX Able Esports with Vendaval SimRacing Black 11 points back of them. So a very fierce battle there. Biggest gap that we start to get to then with SimMSA Esports Black 22 points back of your leader and Pure Sims Esports 11 points back from them. Now, remember, only one race in, so we could see this change around a lot, but don't be surprised if those gaps stay very small throughout the season.
If you're coming in after just watching the MX-5s, it's going to be very similar to what we watched, except 5 minutes longer, 40-minute race, still have a pit stop involved. And obviously, this is a multi-make series, so there's all different kinds of cars they can choose from here in the GT3 class. But it's round 2 out of 10 over the course of the season, and the same penalties and bonus points are up on offer for this one. Qualifying has just started. Let's see if it's as tight as it was last time. I was honestly amazed last round at how long it took, DJ, for them to catch the lap traffic, because it's a huge field last time and this time, and Road Atlanta wasn't that long of a track, so this makes me wonder if they'll even have issues with lap traffic here.
Well, they very well may not, Joe. I mean, it's almost a 3-mile circuit out here and a lot of time spent on open throttle. So that means that there's not as much disparity in between lap times. But we're going to have to see how that plays out over the course of it. So we watch Gonzalo Cortez. This is the first driver who will be setting a quick time.
He's currently working his way through the S's as it comes up to the hard braking down at turn 9, one of many, many hairpins all throughout this lap. Running the Beamer today And we'll see what kind of marker he sets for the field, as long as he kept it clean, mind you. Also, worth noting, it takes a little while to get around. We talked about some of the drivers maybe not making all 4 laps at Laguna Seca. Could it be even harder here?
Yeah, indeed. It is a very long circuit, as we said, at that almost 3-mile mark. Little bit of a wiggle there for Cortez under braking going down into turn 11. And that's a downhill right-hander. The car, you can usually use the weight of it to help you slow down, but you've got to be careful. That little wiggle tells me he may have a little bit more rear brake bias. Cortez, though, coming to the line now. This is going to be the benchmarker for the rest of the field as he sets down a 1:48.125, and that's immediately pipped by Alessandro Di Tullio.
Oof. So drivers are quick today. Looks like Modoff gets himself into third, Karen into second place, Bouchard into third. So all the regulars that we're used to seeing up there are certainly showing themselves to be quick. Dallas Pataska not as high up as I thought he would be. He's only into 13th. And Daniel Ferguson just got the pole.
He did indeed. Here comes Campos Del Rio across the line right about now with a 48.3. That's going to be good enough for 16th. Driving, obviously, that Lamborghini Huracan around there. Here's Ted Lowendick out on track. Ted there. Always lovely to see him supporting some GSRC merch on his chest there. Love to see that, Teddy, as he goes down into that corner that we talked about, turn 11. Making it around there and trying to just ease his way through.
Poor Ted's going to have to find more room on his shirt because now he's got to add Ryan onto there after we've had him tonight. And you can see how tricky it is around this circuit. It's one of those tracks that just, it doesn't look and doesn't seem like it should be that difficult, but it challenges so many drivers. By the way, after those first round of laps, it's Ferguson, Di Tullio, Ash, your top 3.
Yeah, and it's looking like, as of right now, that new Porsche GT3, not only the preferred car in the field, but the fastest car in the field, as it is taking up 4 of the top 5 positions. Andrew Karen, the only one separating them out there in that new Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo.
Ooh, Di Tullio parked it before he took his second lap. That was interesting. As we now take a glance at the new Porsche coming through the final chicane. Ferguson put it on pole last time. He's got 2 tenths over to Tullio, but he's not going to improve as he spins it off the course. Stephen Ash down to 5th since that first lap. He also attempts to try and get a little bit quicker, also in the Porsche. And now down to 6th place as yet more drivers set times. The number 11 looks like he'll be safely out of the final chicane. What's this going to be? 47.4, 4 tenths faster. That's on the front row.
That's a great one for him. And here comes Nick Ledecky as he drives his way through right now. Another one of the drivers favoring the Porsche. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in the course of the broadcast and how that car handles. But the reason we're seeing it step out a lot, rear engine, rear wheel drive, you've got to be a little bit sensitive to that and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Ledecky here coming to the line. Let's see if he's able to improve on that 47.8. Yes, he is with a 47.657. That'll bump him up 2 spots into 5th.
I'm watching Kostovich because he hasn't put a lap in, and he was one of our front runners last round. He's out of the final chicane cleanly. Will this one count? He's only going to have potentially 1 more lap to count here. A 47.7. That's good enough for a top 10. He slots into 8th.
That'll be a good lap there for him. He'll be pleased with that, carrying the BMW banner here. Teddy Lowendick also out on track. Teddy, we saw a lot of times last season out in a BMW. He has switched over to that new Porsche. Let's see how he handles this downhill. Hard onto the brakes here. I love seeing Teddy being able to spot that corner as he comes around, not taking too much of that exit curbing all of the way here through this final tricky chicane. You've got to thread that just right, not to clobber too much of the curbs. Oh, that's going to be an off track for Teddy, I think.
Let's watch as he crosses the line, see if it counts or not. And it does not. You were right. That was an off track. Mies also finally got a time in and put himself into the top 10. I'm a little surprised Carl Modoff doesn't seem to be really having the pace today. And if I'm seeing correctly, Carl's trying to set up for a quick lap or something because he's going quite slow. But he's going to have to hustle because they don't get to complete their hot laps, and it takes about 1:47 to get around here.
Yeah, he's really going to have to book it if he wants to get that time in. Obviously, this qualifying, a change from last year where we had open qualifying out on track. This time it is single car qualifying. So we're going to follow Modov here. It looks like
he's not going to make it.
Yeah, he's not going to have enough time.
It's way too late. There won't be enough time to complete the lap, so this one's obviously going to be slow. He'll do no better than 8th after taking the victory last round. Kostovich has an open goal to try and see if he can pip him here. This will be his final flying lap. The 18 down into the line, and it's going to be a 47.624, slightly faster, but it's so tight up there, it gets him up to 5th.
Absolutely incredible. Joe looking like 3rd all the way down to about, I think, 9th is separated by less than 1/10 of a second. So some very, very competitive drivers here up at the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot like last week, it looks like, as drivers have nothing separating them out there. Cortez under the bridge, through the chicane, and off to grandmother's house he goes, down to the line. He's got just enough time to finish this last flying lap. He'll get all 4 in. Doesn't look like he thinks it's terribly quick, as he's going to kind of goof off at the end. And yeah, he did not improve. 12th is the best he'll see.
And Ted Lowendick here decided to come into the pits. He knows he's not going to be able to set a good time on that one and chose to practice that very tricky pit in. That may be something that we end up talking about over the course of the race. It is surprisingly difficult. As I see James David is able to make his way up into 17th. This is Michael Davies out on track. This is going to be close for the Pure Sims esports driver.
And Lackerite moved himself onto the 2nd row. Antoine now takes the 21 into 4th. That is it for our qualifying, though. So through the starting order once again, Daniel Ferguson puts it on the pole. Stephen Ash starts to his outside with Alessandro DiTullio, showing he is quick no matter what you put him in. P3 for him. Lackerite starts in 4th as Kostovich is in P5. Ludica will be starting at 6th, Karen in 7th, and Mies in 8th. Modov, unfortunately, running out of time, will have to settle for 9th as Levesque starts from 10th.
Phil Bouchard's going to be lining up in 11th, followed by Gonzalo Cortez in row 7. Behind them, it'll be Rowan Gill and Dave Menino. Manuel Scoli will be 15th, followed by Ian Gagnon-Renaud in 16th. James David 17th with Diego Rallis 18th. And bringing up the last of your top 20, it's Dallas Pastaka and Alessandro Torchio.
Villeneuve starts in 21st with no practice time, so that's actually rather impressive that he was able to get a lap that good in. Ribe starts 22nd with Lewis Goodway in 23rd. Then you've got Hugo Gallo in P24. Jeffrey Ooms starts 25th. Campos Del Rio in the 26th spot. Next row has rain to the inside. Teddy Lowendick puts it into 28th. Russo 29th, and Cal Quinn 30th. From there, only Davies, Genet, and Raquelme put lap times in. Nixon and LaRouche failed to set a time, and they're both on the grid, so I think we're going to get all 35 starters.
I think we are indeed, Joe, and that is going to be a very, very full field. The track temperatures here very chilly, though. It's 66 degrees Fahrenheit. That's something to watch out for. These drivers are going to have to be very careful coming around the first couple of corners, as those tires are not going to be up to temperature quite yet. And you may see some slipping and sliding through the first lap.
It's only 7:30 a.m. virtual standard time, so no wonder it's so cool out here in Japan. The sun is quite literally rising. We're waiting for them to now take off on the pace lap. I don't see Torchio out on the track. He's going to miss the grid. He's going to have to start from pit lane, and after managing to get it into 20th, that has got to be utter disappointment. There we see, just taking a little bit of a sip there to get ready. Teddy Lowendick is good to go.
Is indeed. Teddy starting off in 28th position. And as we said, as these drivers get ready to go here, Porsche looking like it is the favored car out there, closely followed by the Ferraris and the BMWs. I'm only seeing about one Mercedes, handful of Lamborghinis, and a lone Ford out in the field.
Ferguson waits for it, looking for the green flag, and there it is. Daniel Ferguson accelerates away as we start round 2 of the PRL GT3 Pro Series. It's a battle for second. Ash and DeTulio side by side down in the first corner. And it looks like Ferguson has the advantage. So despite starting on the pole, DeTulio did have the advantage. It's Ash that fell back.
Yeah, indeed. Ash falling back there a little bit. DeTulio now going to try to press his advantage. Ooh, but Ash getting a little bit of a good run there, coming through turns 3 and 4. He may be on the attack.
Impressively, I'm not seeing any accidents. A couple bumping in the very back, but now down into turn 5. Looks like Ferguson is well out of reach, and DeTulio is as well. Battle between Lacarite and Ludica, though.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on Lacarite. He had a very good start off the line, but just got a little bit bunched up, had nowhere to go, and was forced to get on the binders a little bit early. There he is in that very distinctive purple-nosed Lamborghini. We look out the back here at Kostowitz there, or excuse me, Ludak, as we look at Nick behind him. There we go. Sorry, got confused.
Justin Rain, by the way, had a spin on the early lap, and Carl Modoff has had a problem. He's tumbling down the order. I'm trying to find him. There he is. There is the 948 going almost to the very back of the field after starting within the top 10. What a stark contrast to last race.
Let's check this out from Carl Modoff, making a very uncharacteristic mistake here, as that is the 948 Porsche. Got off onto the grass there, but able to get it underneath it.
I think he had help.
Yeah, he got a little bit of a love tap there from behind.
Ooh, that's not going to make him happy. But whatever it is, he's got to do it on his own. Someone in a Bimmer just had a bit of net code, and I think he was a bit farther away than he anticipated. And we come back to our leaders. Ferguson ahead of DeTulio, ahead of Ash. Pretty single file now, coming out of the first lap and into the second. Not seeing much in the way of battles throughout the fields, although they are very tightly packed amongst each other.
Yeah, they really are, Joe, and this is what I talked about. Ooh, as I'm looking in the back there, I think we've got a little bit of action between Morales and Menino back for 14th and 15th. They're side by side.
Great stuff there coming off the corner. Going to try and challenge him. Oh, and someone slowing down and going 3 wide behind them, as well as things start to erupt in the mid-pack, and they're going to continue to fight it out here between Menino and Morales. Morales to the inside is just going to be able to sneak through as we now look back at Morales once again.
Yeah, and that is James David there in the Lamborghini, looking very hungry as well, and Pataka behind them as well. Geez, they're still side by side here, Joe. This is incredible as they make their way through turn 9. These guys are giving no quarter. This is incredible.
Morales has the inside. Menino is going to have to back off a little bit or try to go for the over-under behind them side by side. David and Pataska as well. That looks like Morales is going to be able to come away the victor on that one. The 22 has now got himself 14th.
Does indeed, and I've got to admire the pluck there from Dave Menino trying to hold it around the outside of turn 10, but that is an off-camber corner, and it is very tricky to try to carry momentum there. So heads up move there for Diego Morales, positioning that BMW just where it needs to be.
We're only 4 minutes into this race. Ferguson setting another fastest lap up at the front of the field. It looks like a traffic jam. Everybody is nose to tail, basically, from 14th on down. A little bit of a poke from Menino in his Ferrari. Can't quite get through as Morales denies him.
Jumping back up here to second, things may be getting a little bit spicy up here as Lacarite and Ledecky having that good fight that we were keeping an eye on earlier. Yeah, you can see it. It is just a train here of cars. With podium positions right now all made out by that new Porsche GT3. So definitely showing its legs here for the new build on iRacing.
Yeah, amongst the makes of cars, the Porsche and the BMW are holding a bunch of the spots in the top 10 right now. Seem to be the most preferred amongst our drivers, at least the fastest drivers here today. As we hop on board with Teddy once again. Should have made up at least a couple spots with the offs that happened around him. He's into 26th, it appears, and certainly in the thick of it.
is indeed, and he's trying to chase down Michael Davies there right ahead of him in that Ferrari. So trying to get through there. You can see Teddy looking his way through the corner. May have caught a little bit too much curbing there on the exit, and that'll slow him down a little bit. Yeah, you can see a little bit of sense of frustration. He knew he didn't nail turn 10 quite the way he'd like to.
Even still, doesn't seem Russo got enough of a run for him to worry here. Back up to the top of the fields. Ferguson has pulled this out to 1.6 seconds ahead of DeTulio, who pulls along a train of Ash, Lakarite, Ludica, Kostovich, Karen, Mies. Oh my goodness, this just basically goes on and on. There is a look at the train of cars following that second place driver.
Yeah, just an absolute train, as you said, Joe. Everybody just sticking in line here. But Ferguson doing a great job of pulling out there the gap at about 2 seconds at this point.
Daniel's been the class of the field here today. Not only took that pole, but seems like nobody's got the pace to match him, but there's still plenty of racing left to go, as Raquelme is going to try and take a little bit of a look to the inside of one of the Lambos. This is for 31st position.
Gonna try to take that look a little bit very late on the brakes there. They're almost into each other's tailpipes.
Not afraid to get it right underneath that rear wing. But now they hit the S's. It's going to be hard to follow through here as everybody breaks into this left-right sequence. Very swift set of corners. And EJ Nixon is starting to close on the back of Raquelme as well, and one of the few McLarens. And as a McLaren fan, that does me proud.
Does indeed. Here we ride on board with Stephen Ash in third place, trying to chase down Alessandro DeTulio right now. Remember, these guys swapped positions right at the start of the race. Little bit of a catch there for Ash in his number 11 Porsche.
Still being trailed by Antoine in the 21, as well as Nick in that number 16. But we predicted it before the race that passing will be at a premium. I don't think it's just the track here. I think this is drivers that are not making mistakes.
Yeah, they're definitely keeping it down here, and now that they've been able to run out here for about 8 minutes, those tire temperatures are going to be up right now. They're going to be at a good operating window, and they're able to push a little bit more on them because they don't have to worry nearly as much about overheating them. So they're going to be able to take a little bit more advantage of that than we would normally see on a hotter track surface.
Okay, progress for Karl Modoff. He's back to 29th. So he's only gotten a few positions. Kind of surprised at that. Thought he really would have been able to charge through the field a little bit quicker than this.
I would too, but I think Modoff just being a prime example of just how tricky it is to get on by. Those rear brakes glowing up there in that Porsche. Trying to fight the way through the best that he can, but still just very, very difficult to get any sort of passing done, especially with a field as talented as this. We've got a little bit of action.
Side by side between Antoine and Nick. We were waiting for this to erupt. Nick on the attack around the outside of the hairpin, and he hangs tough. I can't believe he does. Oh, just starts to lose out. Slots in behind as we watch from the perspective of Kostovich. I'm sure he's hungry to see this go south as Antoine has the advantage, doesn't cover off. Way down deep to the inside. Ludica tries to take the apex away. He does, but he can't accelerate off as quick.
Oh, not able to get it done there, but he's going to stay close up behind is Nick Ledecky. And to watch out for... Oh, there it is, coming off that final chicane. Ledecky got a little bit of a better run. That's going to get him slightly alongside of Lakarite. It's going to be a battle of the breakers here. Oh, a little bit of a shoulder out there for Ledecky as he tries to get it around Lakarite, trying to hold momentum around the outside, but I think that's going to be positioned up to Nick Ledecky, but Lakarite not done yet.
I don't know how they didn't make contact into that first corner as they continue this side-by-side fight around the outside. This time, Nick finds the grip, and he's going to complete the pass.
Wow, sheer tenacity there from Nick Ledecky, holding it on as we ride on board with Antoine Lakarite. He had a little bit of a look around it, tried to get something going, but I think that Porsche starting to pull ahead.
That cost them a lot of time. It's about 1.1 seconds up to Ash now. So he's going to have to regroup. That was costly. Ooh, Ash is setting something up. Look at this. He's poking his nose onto Tullio.
Yes, he is. This battle starting to get very, very spicy here. Now, this is where he's going to want to try to do it. If I'm sitting in Steven Ash's position, I'm going to want to take that car wide, get a late apex, and carry momentum.
I wonder if this is because Nick caused them a little bit of a gap behind that now he feels like he could at least risk trying to slow each of them up. Here he goes. And once again, we're seeing the defending car not actually defend. Holy cow! He's going to make the corner. I don't know how, but Steven Ash is through unless Tullio intentionally gave that one up.
That may be a little bit of discretion being the better part of valor for Tullio, just waiting to see how this race is going to pan out. But he's now got Motegi close enough behind him that I'd be worried about him catching up to him.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think that really was the impetus for Steven to finally try and make that move. He knew that when he lost the time, he wouldn't be under threat from those behind. Nick caught back up, and the train continues. Let's see, where does this break up? Looks like Phil Bouchard back in 10th place is how far this goes back. So any little slip up is probably not going to lose you one position, but multiple.
Yeah, that's just how close to the competition here is in the PRL GT3 Pro Series. You can see everybody still running line astern. And I mean, to look at that, Motegi, who we thought was going to be clear of Lacquerite, not able to shake that Lamborghini off his tail.
No, he is not. And that's, I think, the only Lambo in the top 10 representing there in that number 21. Doing a good job of it, I must say. Through the S's once again. This has all put them yet farther behind. Daniel Ferguson is now up to about 4 seconds ahead of this pack.
Yeah, Ferguson's just able to stretch his legs out a little bit and enjoy the ride at this point as this battle continues to rage behind.
And as they accelerate down past the support pits, will anybody attempt to maybe do a little bit of an undercut? They are within the pit window. We know it's not the desired strategy. Depends, I guess, on where everybody is on the track. They're still quite packed up. In fact, I think from first to last on the lead lap is 30 seconds. Well, 37 technically. EJ Nixon is a little bit behind after he had a problem earlier on. But yeah, 30 seconds through a field of 33 cars.
Yeah, certainly trying to do it. Just a massive field out here. It is really incredible as we ride back on board with Ted Lowendick. Looks like he's going back for another sip of that beverage.
Took a little bit of a sip on the straightaway, and Teddy Lowendick takes that RSR car down through the double apexer. You can see he's still being hounded by that Bimmer just behind him. But it's been a decent race thus far. Oh, we had a car in pit lane Villeneuve. I think our first one to take an early stop. I can also report that Carl Modoff just got a spot. In fact, I think we could see that there in the background. Yeah, that was Carl there taking P26.
Yeah, so Carl continuing to try to make his way up through the field. Interesting here about Villeneuve. That is the lone Ford GT in the field. We jump back up to Carl Modoff here in 26. Rafael Russo right ahead of him in the BMW. And Teddy Lowendick, who's been in that battle with Michael Davies.
All right. The Delta Sport car of Modoff still having a very difficult road out there on track, although he's spotting little openings here and there. He shows his nose coming down into the corner, then back to the racing line. Oh, but he goes a little bit wide, and Genet takes a look. Thought he could maybe snatch that spot back. Nothing doing there.
No, and that's a little bit of kudos there for Modoff to be able to catch that from Genet. He just kind of pinched him there at the end, forced Genet to lift off, but woo, Genet closing in a lot there on the brakes as they dive down into turn 11.
As all this is going on, our leaders have not been able to split apart, but look at this battle as well in the mid-pack between Menino, David, and Pataska. This is for 15th position. And in fact, they're not too far behind Diego Morales up in front of them. If they don't squabble too much, they could try and run him down. I see Torchio in there as well, up 2 positions from the start for him.
Yeah, everybody getting in there. That 4-way battle just seeming to close in. We ride on board right now with Alessandro as he tries to see if he can get anything doing. This Porsche here of his, a little bit of a weave to the outside. I don't think that was a full-on dive maneuver. There they go, running around in that Juncos liveried machine. Absolutely stunning.
An Italian racing out of Mexico. The 73 certainly wants to make that car finish as good as it looks. Beautiful livery, really, honestly. This is a guy that actually comes over to sim racing from real-world motorcycles, believe it or not. That is an interesting jump.
Yeah, it is indeed a little bit of a Surtees there, trying to pull it at least a little bit. And see all the drivers just trying to stretch out a little bit. Torchio losing a little bit of time coming out of turn 9. Battle ahead still raging pretty hard with Ferrari versus Lamborghini.
And to tell you how steep the talent is in this field, that's Dallas Pataska ahead of Torchio. That's not a slow driver. Dallas Pataska is top of the line in the majors, which takes the best of the world, and he's running in 17th today.
Yeah, absolutely remarkable. You know, Joe, you and I have been covering this GT Pro Series here for a couple of seasons, and every season it just seems like they pull more and more talent out of the woodwork, and it's really a question. It's really a testament to what they've been able to do.
Sometimes leagues can be a little bit of a fishbowl, and you get guys that are used to one another. Someone else comes in and shows that there is still better talent out there, but this one, oh my goodness, it just continues to build as we watch the front group now down into the braking of turn 5, and Stephen Ash leads to Tullio, Ludica, Lacarite, and Kostovic. Looks like Karen at the tail of the train. They're dropping some of them bit by bit. Mies, Levesque, and Bouchard seem to have lost touch.
Yeah, they're standing about 1.9 seconds back, but there you can see that little battle for P3. Not really separating out at all still. Just being Porsche. I'm curious to see at any point here if we start to get some errors forced out of any of these drivers, as that almost seems to be like the only way to get around it.
Last car in the train that we're riding on board with right now of Andrew Karen. He took the 2nd place last time around. Seeing if he could get higher than a 7. I'm sure he's not terribly happy with that. Oh, did we have an incident? Yes, we did. Jeffrey Ooms off the track, and the 97 saw a bunch of flashing of red as someone dropped down the order. Oh, this involved a couple cars. This is worth a replay into turn 9. Oh no, it starts with Ooms. Davies tries to check up, and you're going to see poor Teddy Lowendick kind of just not get the memo as the events unfold in front of him.
Yeah, so there we're following Ooms as he dives down into the corner, starts to lose it. Oh, 1, 2, 3. There's the ping pong that goes right around. Hate to see that, you really, really do. And it looks like Ooms and Davies have taken a tow, as well as Campos Del Rio, I believe.
Poor Carl Modoff got a piece of that. I'm not sure if he's got damage on his car. But the 948 is up to 22nd after he gains a couple positions. We're on board with Lowendick now, who's behind Modoff. After that, in fact, that car in front is Russo, and then Genet just in front of that BMW.
Yeah, everybody running line astern there. It doesn't look like Teddy picked up too much damage off of that. He's still able to keep up behind relatively easily and just kind of slowly but surely work his way back up through the field as best he can.
But love seeing those onboards that Teddy gives us each and every time. Not going to be the highest finish, but still a decent one. Definitely encourage other drivers to come in, as we've had a little bit of a dry spell of them, but we'd love to see them and give us the view of what it's like driving in your own personal sim. Ludica up in the 4th place within less than 0.2 of a second behind Tullio, but has no way to get around.
No, he really doesn't, and I think part of that is that DeTulio is definitely picking up a little bit of the draft off of Stephen Ash, and so that's really preventing any sort of overspeed that he would get. A little bit of a run wide there coming into the corner for Ludica, but he's able to gather it back under him. Looks like we've got another taker on the pits here. James David popping down pit lane.
Is this our first scheduled stop? No, I think Villeneuve was. I see Del Rio and Riquelme, as well as Nixon, with similar pit stops. So we've had a few, but they're all at the very back of the field right now. There's David returning back out. The Lambo going to come in, looks like about 30th place, I think. 29th here. No, he'll get back in 28th. Sorry, go ahead.
You read my mind, Joe. I was going to say he's going to come out in 28th and get into position. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that shakes out with the rest of the drivers around him and see if maybe that undercut could pay some dividends here. Running in clean air could be a boon.
Down out of the S's for our drivers. Ferguson still leads, and he's got 4.2 seconds. He's not pulling away as quickly as I thought anymore. I wonder if he's backing it off, or if everybody behind is starting to pick it up, potentially. We're past the halfway mark. See a few takers for alternate strategies. Look at them accordion together. They're down into the braking of 11. So these guys just can't find any sort of crack in the armor amongst themselves, with all of them running picture perfect.
No, they really can't, but let's stay on board here with Antoine Lacquerite. And you can hear that Lamborghini's engine note, just absolutely fantastic, but also keep an eye on what Ludici is doing. He's running a little bit of contrary lines to well, very contrary line right there as he runs very wide on the exit of turn 2. But he's just trying to see if there's anything to be had on Alessandro DeTulio. It's a very sort of systematic way of doing it.
Still have a train of 6 fighting for P2. One by one, they've dropped some of the less quicker cars from behind them, but can't seem to shake each other under the bridge through this unique circuit that takes you both in and outside of the oval on a completely separate track of its own. And down into the S's one more time. My goodness, Nick is almost pushing that blue number 20 through the turns.
Yeah, it really is. It's just all up the back of it there. And there you see a little bit of a more narrow line for DeTulio. Just once again, everybody trying to size each other up here. And I think this is a combination of genuinely trying to see where there's a little bit more speed to be had and where there is a way to get in the driver's head.
Yeah, I think we might see some of those mind games start to play themselves out. Down into 11 once again. Nobody even poking their nose, though. Interesting that it's the 3 Porsches up at the front, then that Lambo, and then it's a Bimmer and a Ferrari finishing it out. So once again, we're seeing that the Porsches seem to like this track. They certainly seem to hold some sort of advantage that even if it doesn't make them necessarily faster, it makes them hard to pass.
Well, I think it's a bit of a combination of things, Joe. The Porsche does have a pretty good straight line speed, and that definitely helps around these longer straightaways. The other thing is, and we kind of hinted at this earlier, is that the rear engine, rear wheel drive platform of the car, it means you can really throw that rear end around a little bit more. Not necessarily getting into a full slide, but you can trail brake a lot more through those sort of medium speed hairpins that make up turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can really use that to your advantage. So this is definitely a track that would suit the Porsche in my mind. It'll be interesting to see, though, as the season goes along, if that changes, and also if iRacing decides to implement any balance of performance to these cars, if that could potentially hurt the Porsche.
And there's something happening with Arnaud Genet. Arnaud Genet is off the track. He's rolling very slowly out of turn 5. Let's see if he got some help, or was this on his own? I think he got some help. So here we go into 3 and 4. That's Russo behind him. I get the feeling this BMW may have given him a little bit of a push.
Gets a good exit there, so nothing too crazy. It's not like Sinead. Yep, there it is. Just that little love tap into the exhaust, and that's going to send Sinead around.
Well, nobody's perfect, and it's Sinead who comes off the worst because of someone else's error, it seems. And we got, Renault. Renault is into pit lane. I think he may have had problems getting into there, though. Looks like he didn't hit anything, but this is a tough little chicane entering in as we come back to the battle for P3. DeTulio still being hounded by Nick.
Yeah, this battle not going away, but as you saw there, one of the cones getting kicked up onto the entrance into turn 3. I think these drivers are recognizing that the clock is coming down. We're under 14 minutes to go now, and I think the gloves are getting ready to come off.
Yeah, at some point, somebody's got to start making more aggressive moves. I can't imagine any of this 6 are just content to try and ride, 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th in line.
Yeah, they're going to want to start moving. There you see a big move out of the way there for Alessandro DeTulio. That is a head game trying to get into the brain of Stephen Ash here. But he's not really close enough to make anything move. As we continue to ride on the hood here of the number 16. Oh, goes. What's going to happen now?
Doesn't seem like he's got good enough exit, unfortunately. That blue and red Porsche just stays out of arm's length. Ooh, does Pataska have a potential pass here? We come back to the Lambo chasing a Ferrari. It's the battle of the Italian marks. The 3 is under threat, but Pataska doesn't show his nose this time.
No, he doesn't. That Ferrari, traditionally in the old build of the 488, was known as being pretty good on the brakes. I haven't had a whole lot of experience in
both of them in.
Oh, all right. They're both diving into the pits. That tricky pit lane, Joe, and they both managed to get it right.
Is that Torchio following them in? No, it's who is that? That's Uribe. Uribe comes in with both of them. And I think we're getting to the end of that pit window. I wouldn't be surprised if next time by we saw a majority of the field start to head down pit road. By the way, we still don't have anybody lapped despite having about a dozen drivers having stopped.
Yeah, it's really pretty incredible. And just looking at the live track map, I can see our leader, Daniel Ferguson, coming through the S's of turns 7 and 8. Closest driver to getting lapped is just now coming in to turn 11. It's Pataska, fastest stop thus far. So we'll have to see if that is indicative of anything.
Now, he was with Menino, wasn't he? Yeah, Menino's still in front of him. So those two both about even under the pit stops as we once again come back to Ludica with ludicrous braking. Almost gets into the bumper of that Porsche. Now, who decides to come in this time? Who's got the fuel to keep on rolling?
Now, this is going to be the question, because I wouldn't be surprised if some of the more level heads here, like Alessandro DeTulio or Antoine Lacquerite, maybe we're saving a bit.
Ferguson's in.
All right, Ferguson coming in, not exactly surprising. Oh, there you go. A couple of those guys that I pointed out are coming on in.
Ludica and Lacquerite saved enough of fuel that they can go a lap longer. Wonder where Modoff is. He's the one that's usually notorious for saving fuel. The battle rages on here as this is now for the lead, but not effectively for the lead. They still need to take pit stops.
Yes, they do, but Ludica, I think, and Lacquerite will have to see if this is going to be able to help them getting some clean air if they are able to do so. Looking at everybody who came out here, DeTulio looks like he lost a little bit of time to Stephen Ash.
Yeah, we're missing only 5 cars who need a pit stop. Everybody else has been in. Must have been a little bit close on the fuel for only those 5 to have been able to stretch it out this far to 10 minutes to go. If you're Nick Ludica in that 16, though, you got to really hope and pray that the 21 doesn't attack now. Now is when he needs to put in fast laps. We come back to Teddy Lowendick, who has finished his pit stops, I believe.
And that was a little bit of a scary moment there for Teddy Lowendick as Campos Del Rio got a little bit of a chop on the front of Teddy's nose, but Teddy able to get it. That Porsche looking a little bit squiggly under braking there. Teddy able to get it under control. Yeah, you can see it looks like he's struggling a little bit with car control. Just some of those facial reactions from him, a little bit out of sorts.
I'm watching our 2 leaders to see. I know that they're going to come in. I'm pretty certain here at this stage, but I want to see how clean that entry is, if they can make anything out of it. Looking good, all 3 of them. All right. Looks like Levesque joining them as well. You see that 4th car pop into frame just there. Lewis Goodway is going to be the next one through. He's being chased by the first out to have pitted, Ferguson. Don't expect him to get jumped in this, as he had a decent stop at about 9 seconds. Here's Antoine getting his fuel, waiting to go. Is not able to jump his rival in the pit stop. Ferguson already through. Ludica, though, here comes one of the drivers he was racing, Stephen Ash, and Ash is not able to get by.
Oh, they just shuffle back into order here. So that revised order, it's Ludica, Ash, Lacarite, DeTulio. That was almost formation driving there, Joe. All of them just coming into line like that.
Timed it to perfection. And let's not forget, that was a switch in position here for that second spot, as Ludica was able to jump Ash. Ash was running there in second spot for so much of this race. Here he comes out. He sees him. He knows he's going to be there, and just trusts him as they just blend in like smooth coffee.
Absolutely fantastic to see that. The biggest loser, though, out of that pit stop cycle, Alessandro DeTulio. He's down to 5th. He was running in the podium positions, and he has now found himself shuffled down the field. He had one of the longer stops there, an 8.7 second stop. Ash had the same, but most everybody else in that leading group down in the 7-second range.
I thought maybe these pit stops would wind up being a critical part of this race. 7 minutes to go. What can we see these guys do to try and get some of those positions back? Poor Alessandro DeTulio definitely lost out. He's down to 5th now, being chased by Karen and Kostovich. And it's still from 2nd to 7th. So really nobody gained and lost too much. They're all still within the same pack.
And just a little bit more about what we had been talking about, Joe, with why the Porsche is so good here. It really tends to have a little bit more torque, a little bit more power in the lower gears, really specifically about 1st and through 3rd or so, and that's the majority of what these corners are. So it's able to get a better jump off the line, and that's why you're seeing these drivers work away.
Using its strength, but remember, multiple different types of tracks all throughout the season, so could we see the Porsche find itself hampered at other circuits? The 678, or 676 rather, has clear track all around. No lap traffic, nobody chasing him. Just 5.5 seconds back to P2 currently, so he's running his own race right now.
He is indeed, with just over 6 minutes here to go. He's only got a few more laps to do it. You can see him growing the gap out a little bit here and there. But behind him, it is still an absolute hornet's nest. Ludica leading Ash, leading Lacarite, leading DeTulio, and Karen holding on to the back of this with Kostowicz there in the highest placed BMW.
We're going to watch him on board the caboose. I can report that Karl Modov is trying to get a spot from Tillanuve right now, coming out of the S's. It looks like Maxime... Whoa, no, Maxime just spun. Sorry, the Ford GT, unfortunately, could not keep hold of things. He's going to get it going once again. Oh, it is... Oh, he fails to get it started. I think He decided to exit after that one. No contact. Not sure why he took a tow.
Watching it through here, Joe. Just a side-by-side there with Modoff as they come in through the right-hander of turn 8. That S's section. This is a good battle there. Porsche versus Ford. Did they get... May have been a little bit of a touch there between Modoff and he. Tries to get spun back around and get back onto the power. You're right on board with him here and get a better sense.
I don't think I saw a touch between them in my initial viewing of the incident. Hard to tell from that onboard. I think he just lost it on his own. Just lost traction on the rears, unfortunately. And around it went. Well, that gives Modoff one more. That's up to 20th place now. We go to that battle for second that is just unending. Been practically a stalemate out on the track amongst these cars.
And this is a really frustrating position in to be as a driver. Ooh, does that look like Lacquerite carrying a little bit more speed there out of turn 9? But just when you're in this spot of not being able to get the move done, when the track and the cars just aren't allowing it, it is so frustrating to stare at the back of the same car lap after lap after lap. You're pushing as hard as you can. And that, frankly, is the area where you start to make mistakes. And thankfully, for these drivers, they are all so darn good. You haven't seen any out of them yet.
Don't need to go to it, but the number 30 of Gagnon Renault had a spin in the same spot we saw the Ford lose it. He doesn't hit anything. He gets it going in 21st spot. Watching from the gearbox of Ludica, back at Stephen Ash. He's starting to gap himself a little bit here. There was a peek to the inside from Betulio in the meantime. So I wonder if Nick is just turning up the wick a little bit and deciding that now is the time to go and put himself out of threat.
This would be the time to do it for him as he starts to try to get that gap going as much as possible. Lacquerite here looking like he's got a little bit of a chance every now and again, but just that low speed grip out of the corners for the Porsche, not allowing that Lamborghini to close in.
Apologies to the mid-pack that we haven't been able to cover them as much, but this has been so tight. Like we said earlier, any little mistake is going to cause this to erupt, so we can't really look away too much. And I'm starting to see a little bit more intention out of Antoine. That 21, he's been poking his nose here and there, just thinking about trying to make a move.
Well, he's got to get a move on it, Joe, because I'm keeping an eye on our leader who's just now coming through turn 10 with about 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go. I think he may get the white flag at the line.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's not quite enough. It'll be a little tight, but should be under that typical lap time here. Ferguson is going to rack up a nice bit of points today in what looks like it's going to be a very tight championship. Today, though, he made it a stomping on the rest of the fields, already up to about 7 seconds ahead of everybody else. Across the line with 1 lap to go, Barney's given us the white flag.
Given the white flag, we jump back here to Ted Lowendick as he continues his battle up through the field with Campos Del Rio there right in front of him. It was a very awkward line there coming through turn 10 for Ted, just trying to, I think, square off the corner a little bit, not working out to the advantage that he would prefer it to. Diving down now into that final area as Torchio, I think, is in the pits.
He is. Did he get the fuel wrong? He must have, because this is 1 to go, and it must have been just barely too tight. Is it a splash and dash? Yeah,
Yep.
4 seconds, he's gone.
Oh, you hate to see that happen. Hate to see that happen. But as we continue to watch around here, keeping an eye on that battle, that Hornet's Nest, as we've been calling it for P2 on back, nobody making the move yet. Lacquerite looking like he's the one that was the closest there, but now Stephen Ash starting to pull away a little bit.
Yeah, I think Antoine is eager to make a move, and it's a different car than that Porsche. It's always that, we haven't talked about it much. It's always that frustration when you're in the same make of car and you've got the same strengths and weaknesses as they get very tight through the hairpin. When you've got that different car, you can maybe try and pull a bit of a different ploy to try and sneak by in an area where you know you've got the edge.
Yeah, exactly. But when everybody's running the same car like they are now, it's very, very tough. Nobody making the move there, but we've got to jump up to our leader because he's headed out to the final chicane and ready to take the checkered flag.
Indeed, Daniel Ferguson, your victor here today at Motegi for round 2. And Ludica is going to be able to hold back a charging field behind him to finish second, Ash in third, and everybody through within practically a second of that second place car.
Checking out the back here of Diego Morales, who will come across the line, and it looks like 12th place. That's Gonzalo Cortez ahead of him crossing the line. I'm really not seeing a whole lot of passes here as they come to. There go more of them. Nobody really able to get any.
No, Modov's slow. Modov slowed the last lap. He must have short fueled it a little too much. And he lost a couple spots out of that one. He wound up 20th after I think he was all the way up to 18th.
Oh, poor Carl here. I think for him, he just wanted to be able to get out and through the line and not able to get it done. Probably short fueled in an attempt to try to jump up a couple of positions.
Torchia wound up 28th for what it's worth, and that's going to take us to a quick break here in a moment as everybody across the line was on the lead lap except for about 4 cars. That is just unbelievable. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi. The Grand Prix course saw round 2 of the Precision Racing League GT3 Pro Series, and it was Daniel Ferguson who looked the pro today, 7 seconds ahead of his rivals, as nobody seemed able to touch him after they dropped the green. Ludica took advantage of the pit stops to get into second, with Ash falling to third. Lacarite managed P4 exactly where he started, and Alessandro DiTullio lost out a little bit in the pit stops himself in fifth. Karen P6 today, with Kostovich in seventh. Levesque, the first one well far back of that group there, in P8, as Rodrigo Mies finished ninth, and Rowan Gill had a quiet one to get a top 10.
In 11th, it was Gonzalo Cortez, followed by Diego Morales, with James David and Louis Goodway coming home 13th and 14th. Dave Menino was 15th, with Dallas Patatska in 16th, Hugo Gallo 17th, and Pablo Venezuela Uribe in 18th. Ian Gangon Renault was 19th after that splash and dash that he had to do, followed by Carl Modov.
When we get to 21st, it is Rafael Russo, Patricio Campos del Rio 22nd, and Manuel Scoli in 23rd. Bouchard was 24th, followed by LaRouche. Then you've got Genet in 26th and Cal Quinn in 27th. Torchio, with his extra pit stop, settled for 28th. EJ Nixon came back with a 29th in the end after failing to set a qualifying time. Teddy Lowendick not getting the results I'm sure he wanted, with a 30th. Last one on the lead lap was Raquelme. And then you get to the drivers who had issues: Villeneuve, Ooms, Davies, and Rame. I believe we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Daniel Ferguson. Daniel, what an improvement from the first round. You didn't even get into the top 10 back at Road Atlanta, but this time you had control the whole way.
Yeah, thanks, guys. After a tough round 1, I knew Motegi was a personal favorite of mine, so I did a bit more practice than I would have for last week's race.
It really showed. We were impressed with the way that you were able to pull away from the drivers. Was there any point where there was any sort of nervousness or questioning about this, or did you feel like you had this in the bag the whole way?
After I think about 5 or 6 laps, once Steven had managed to get by DiTullio, there was a few laps where they were matching my pace and even being a little bit quicker. But I managed to find a good groove and extend the gap a bit more until the pit stops.
Well, the man that won last time, Carl Modov, had a horrible race out there today, so you're going to shoot up the order compared to him for sure. What's your ultimate goal this season?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to be missing a few rounds later on in the season, but I'm just looking to jumble up the points a bit where I can.
Well, we'll be watching out for it. Good news is you will at least have one drop other than that last round. Anybody you want to thank that helped make this win possible?
I'd like to thank everyone at Pure Sims for all the help with the setup this week. It really worked in officials and obviously tonight. And all our sponsors, Craig Setup Shop, Freem, and SimLab. Lots of help, guys. Thanks, guys.
That was our winner, Daniel Ferguson, as I think we have second place finisher Nick Ludica ready to talk to DJ.
Well, Nick, that was, I don't know if I want to call it a battle or a stalemate out there, but you got to be happy with a second place there, especially after that very wonderfully timed pit stop.
Yeah, definitely. I can't complain much. It was unfortunate that Daniel got away, but his pace was quite insane, so I don't know if I would have been able to keep with him anyways. But yeah, great race overall.
It was really, really interesting to watch you guys as you continue to slice and dice and just stay in line. How much were you trying to attack? How much were you just kind of sitting back and waiting? Obviously, Motegi, not exactly the best track for overtaking, but it seemed pretty processional.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just didn't want to make a dumb move, but at certain points, especially early on, since I was farther back, had to get a little bit more aggressive and get the elbows out, I guess you could say. But yeah, most of the race was just trying to keep the tires under control.
Gotcha. Well, we turn our sights next week to the newest track on iRacing, the Hungaroring. Obviously, everybody doesn't have a whole lot of experience there, but do you think you're going to be able to do well? And do you think this is going to be another circuit like Motegi that may favor the Porsches?
You know, it's definitely going to be a tough one, especially with the iRacing Petite Le Mans coming up on Saturday. Finding the time to practice for both is going to be quite difficult. So I guess we'll wait until next Monday and see how it goes.
That seems like a pretty good plan to me, Nick. Anybody you'd like to thank for this second place here today?
Yes, I'd like to give a massive thanks to everyone over at Vendaval, working together all week at Motegi to get the car up to speed. Also, big thanks to my girlfriend, parents, Mary and Jay, close family friends of ours. Anyone that tunes in and watches me race, it's a massive passion of mine, and that means a lot to me. And lastly, for you guys that put on the whole show here.
Well, I can tell you, Nick, it is our absolute pleasure to do so. But congratulations again on this second place. And now, Joe Peak, you have caught up with the third place finisher here today, Stephen Ash.
Yes, indeed. The number 11, unfortunately, didn't seem to get the pit stops quite going his way. Stephen, were you surprised to see Nick come out in front of you, and especially as tight as it was?
How's it going, guys? Nah, I wasn't really surprised when that happened. So Nick's obviously one of my teammates, so we were on the comms together talking, and it was pretty clear that he was saving much more fuel behind, so I wasn't surprised that he came out ahead. I was a little surprised at how tight it was, though, which made things interesting, and he had to save some fuel towards the end of the race, which made it pretty tight there in that whole pack. But yeah, overall, pretty good race. Would have liked to battle Fergie up front a bit more, but obviously had a pretty poor start. Got jumped by Alessandro in the first corner, and he didn't quite have the pace that Ferguson had, so it was a little difficult, and from there it was just kind of managing.
How nerve-wracking is it to be amongst a group that is that tight together for the entire race? Does that ever get to you at any point?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely intense. At that point, it just becomes a big, becomes a big strategy race of who can save the most fuel. And after I got ahead of Alessandro, I was trying to save for a while, but just wasn't able to get the numbers I wanted, and unfortunately got jumped by Nick. But yeah, definitely happy for a podium.
I can understand that, considering just how steeply stacked the field is. Knowing that with the Hungaroring coming up next, do you think you can keep that up? Do you consider yourself at least able to get more podiums and top fives this season?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll be able to fight pretty much all season. The Porsche's looking like a pretty decent car almost everywhere. Might be a little better at some tracks, a little worse. So yeah, hoping to keep that rolling forward and maybe hopefully get some wins.
Well, congratulations. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. Just all the guys over at Vendaval and my teammates Nick and Spencer.
Awesome stuff there from Stephen Ash, who came back in third place today, and it was one position down from where he started, but still not too bad as we get ready to close up shop, but we're not done with tonight quite yet. Of course, we want to give a thank you before we go away to all of our sponsors, including ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. Ninja Trader, as well as one of our sponsors. Visit Ninja Trader and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. And thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. And check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we said, next time, it's going to be a fun combo, Sebring and the brand new Hungaroring, Monday, October 4th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Just a few minutes, we're going to be racing more Porsches. It's the Porsche Owners Club at Mid-Ohio at 10:45 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.